The bookstore was nearly empty when the old man walked in. It was 6:43 p.m. A cold wind scratching at the windows. Just past rush hour, just before closing. He wore a beige windbreaker, carried a canvas tote full of used paperbacks, and moved with that careful shuffle of someone who used to walk fast, but didn't trust the ground anymore. At the register, Riley looked up and sighed. 21. But AirPods in. TikTok open beneath the counter. Evening, the old man said softly, voice dry like paper. I think I left something here yesterday. Riley didn't look up. What was it? A book? Old edition of Moby Dick. With some notes inside. She shrugged. If it's not in the back, it's probably gone. He gave a small, polite nod. Would you mind checking? She pulled one earbud out. You know we're closing soon, right? The man smiled gently. I won't be long. Riley sighed dramatically and disappeared into the storage room. At the corner reading table, two girls in designer hoodies giggled. Who brings that to a bookstore? One whispered. The other smirked. He probably writes fan mail to Melville. Riley returned empty-handed. No luck. The old man's smile didn't falter. Thank you for checking. He turned to go, but one of the girls at the table called out. Hey, maybe check eBay. Someone might have already resold your little treasure. The girls laughed. Riley didn't stop them. The man paused. Just for a second. Then he kept walking. Out the door. Gone. Behind the poetry display, someone stood up. Black hoodie. Motorcycle helmet in hand. He had been browsing quietly for almost an hour. No one noticed. No one ever did, unless they knew to look. Keanu Reeves stepped up to the counter. Riley blinked. Can I help you? He nodded. I'd like to buy a copy of Moby Dick. Hardcover. Old if you've got it. Riley stared. You, wait, are you? But Keanu was already pulling out his card. And a notepad, he added. Something simple. Blind. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't explain himself. He just waited. She fumbled to ring him up. As he signed the receipt, he said calmly, Tomorrow, that man will come back again. When he does, hand him this. He tapped the wrapped package, the book, the notebook, and something else tucked inside. And if you laugh again, he added softly, I won't be the one who walks away. Then he turned and left. Riley stood frozen, heart pounding. The girls had gone quiet. No one said a word. Because for the first time all night, someone in that bookstore had finally been seen. The package sat on the shelf behind the register, wrapped in brown paper, tied with thin twine. No label. No receipt. Just wait. And silence. Riley couldn't stop looking at it. All night, it sat there like it was watching her. Judging her. She replayed the moment again and again. His voice. From that look, not angry, but disappointed. It stung worse than any insult. She barely slept. The next day, she arrived early. Earlier than she ever did. The manager blinked in surprise. You okay? Yeah, Riley said quickly. Just thought I'd help with inventory. But all morning, her eyes flicked to the package. At 10:34 a.m., the bell rang. He was back. Same windbreaker. Same shuffle. Same tote bag hanging like a memory from his shoulder. Riley stood straighter. The man approached the counter. I know it's a long shot, but... She didn't let him finish. She reached under the register and placed the package gently on the counter. It's for you, she said. Someone left it. He looked at her, puzzled. Then began to untie the twine slowly, carefully, as if opening a memory. Inside, a hardback copy of Moby Dick. Nearly identical to the one he'd lost. Crisp spine. Worn pages. Margins already filled with thoughtful, neat pencil notes. And beneath it, a brand new notebook. Blank, except for one line written inside the cover. No one's story ends when it's ignored. It only ends when it's forgotten. The old man's hands trembled slightly. He looked up, eyes wet but smiling. Who? Riley swallowed. He didn't leave a name. Just said you'd be back. The man placed a hand over the notebook like it was sacred. You have no idea what this means, he whispered. Then, after a moment, I used to teach literature. For 30 years. Riley's eyes widened. I carried that copy through every lecture, he said. I wrote in it after my wife passed. But I thought I'd lost it all. Riley bit her lip. I'm sorry, she said, voice low. He looked at her, really looked. Then nodded kindly. You're young. That means you still have time to start listening. She didn't know what to say. He turned to leave, holding the package close. At the door he paused. You know, he said softly, Melville once wrote, it is not down on any map. True places never are. And then he stepped outside, into the gray morning, leaving Riley alone with the echo of words she'd never cared about before. That night, Riley stayed late. Not because she had to, but because something inside her refused to let her walk away just yet. The store was quiet. The lamps buzzed softly above. The fiction section stood like a silent jury behind her. She sat on the stool behind the register, scrolling through her phone without really seeing it. Then she pulled open the drawer where the package had been. It was empty now, except for a sticky note. She'd nearly missed it. Handwritten. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is stay quiet and pay attention. She stared at the note like it might change shape. He had come back. Sometime after she left. Or maybe while she was in the bathroom. Or maybe he never really left at all. Her heart kicked in her chest. Why was she still thinking about this? He didn't threaten her. He didn't shame her. He just saw everything. Then acted like it was simple. Because maybe it was. Maybe she didn't have to explain herself. Or fix everything overnight. Maybe she just had to stop pretending she didn't care. She stood, grabbed a broom, and began sweeping the aisles. For once, she didn't wear her AirPods. She listened. To the creak of floorboards. To the soft scrape of a chair. To her own thoughts, unfiltered. The next day, she brought coffee for the morning manager. No reason. No announcement. She restocked the poetry section without being asked. When a nervous teenager wandered in looking for something that doesn't suck but also isn't about love, Riley walked her to the right shelf. No sarcasm. No eye rolls. Just a quiet recommendation. She didn't even notice the woman sitting in the corner chair until her shift ended. Black hoodie. Dark jeans. Calm posture. Sunglasses tucked into her book. She looked up once. Nodded. Then went back to reading. Riley paused mid-step. It wasn't him. But it felt like a sign. As if someone, somewhere, was watching to see if she'd choose different this time. She walked past slowly. Before leaving, she grabbed a pen and scribbled something on a spare notepad near the register. Then placed it gently between two shelves. Not for the old man. Not for Keanu. For someone else, maybe. If you're still carrying shame for who you used to be, drop it. She's not coming with you. Saturday was busy. Rain had pushed people indoors. Couples wandered in with damp jackets and half-empty coffee cups. Tourists asked for something short but meaningful. A little girl in a frog hoodie asked if the store had any books with dragons and skateboards. Riley found one. She was smiling more lately. Not the fake customer service kind, the real one. Small, steady, like her face was remembering how. Around 3 p.m., someone walked in quietly. No umbrella. No phone in hand. He wore a denim jacket, dark pants, and a softness that followed him like a shadow. Riley recognized him instantly. Not because he wanted to be noticed, but because he didn't. Keanu Reeves. She didn't say anything. Didn't gasp or grab her phone. She just nodded once. He returned it. He wandered the store like he belonged there. Didn't ask for help. Didn't rush. When he finally approached the register, he placed a single book on the counter. A slim volume. Worn spine. Gold script on the front. The Book of Lost Things. Riley scanned it without speaking. He paid in cash. Then paused. You left something between the shelves, he said. She blinked. The note. He nodded. You didn't sign it. I didn't think anyone would read it. They did. He pulled something from his pocket, a folded piece of paper. Unfolded it slowly. If you're still carrying shame? He looked up. It helped. Riley swallowed. He tucked the note back in his pocket, then added, "You're not the same person who laughed. That matters more than the laugh." She wanted to say something. Anything. But her throat caught. He picked up the book. "Keep going," he said gently. "Someone's watching." Then he walked out into the rain, holding the book like it contained someone else's name. And Riley stood behind the counter, heart full and hands still. Because for the first time since she started working there, she believed that maybe she didn't hate this place. Maybe this was the beginning of something. Not punishment, not penance. Just a quiet shift into becoming someone she could live with. Monday was slow. Storms had passed. The store smelled like dust and wood polish. The floor creaked louder when no one was around. Riley stood behind the register, flipping through returns. Most were damp paperbacks. A few overpriced memoirs, spine barely cracked. Then she found it. A return slip. No receipt. No barcode. Just the book. The book of lost things. Same worn spine. Same golden script. Taped to the front was a note, handwritten on lined paper. She recognized the handwriting instantly. Read it. Then pass it on. Some stories aren't meant to stay on shelves. Riley stared at the book like it was breathing. She flipped it open. Inside, on the first blank page, were 4 signatures. Initials, scribbled thoughts, short dates. All in different handwriting. A traveling copy. Each person had read it, signed it, passed it forward. She turned to the next blank space and stared. Her pen hovered. Then slowly she wrote, "R.W. This story made me stay 5 more minutes. That's enough for today." She closed the book, hands trembling, and placed it in the staff picks shelf at the front. No price tag. No sticker. Just a handwritten note. Free to the next person who needs it. The manager passed by and raised an eyebrow. "Can we give books away now?" Riley didn't flinch. Only the right ones. The woman kept walking. Didn't argue. That evening, before locking up, Riley noticed it was gone. The book. The note. The spot where it had sat all afternoon. Empty. But not silent. Something had changed. The next morning, someone had left a new title in its place. Another paperback. Another note tucked inside. "Heard this belonged here." The ripple had begun. No announcement. No marketing campaign. Just quiet hands, passing along hope. Later that week, a regular came in, the shy guy with glasses who always asked for something old, not too sad. He paused by the staff picks. Held up a book. "Didn't expect to find this here." Riley nodded. "You're not supposed to." And she meant it. Because now, kindness didn't need to ask permission. It just needed someone to start the return. By Thursday, the shelf had a name. It wasn't official. No one logged it in the inventory system. No one printed a label. But regulars started calling it the unlisted shelf. Books appeared overnight. Disappeared by morning. No barcodes. No prices. Just notes. Short ones. Honest ones. Some shaky, some bold. I read this when I thought no one else felt like I did. The ending wrecked me in a good way. For the kid pretending he's okay in school right now, this one's for you. Riley didn't know who was leaving them. Sometimes she did. The girl with the sketchbook. The quiet man in the coat 2 sizes too big. The woman who always lingered in the poetry section with red eyes. But sometimes, she wondered if he was still watching. Not because she needed him to fix anything, but because the idea of him, Keanu, the one who noticed, had become part of the story. He hadn't returned in days. And still, his fingerprints were everywhere. That evening, while shelving new arrivals, Riley found something tucked behind a hardcover copy of Letters to a Young Poet. A folded envelope. No stamp. No address. Just her name written in block letters, Riley. Her throat tightened. She stepped into the break room, closed the door, and opened it with both hands. Inside, a single page. You stopped waiting for someone else to change things. That's how you know it's real. The world doesn't need another loud voice. It needs one honest one. Keep writing. Keep giving it away. She pressed the page to her chest. Not to cry, but to steady herself. Because now she understood the truth. He wasn't showing up to be a hero. He was showing up to hand the pen to someone else. Someone like her. That night, before closing, Riley placed a blank notebook on the unlisted shelf. Inside, she wrote, "If you're too tired to speak today, write something here. You're not alone." And by morning, the first page had already been filled. It was Saturday afternoon when she noticed her. A teenager, maybe 15, hovered by the unlisted shelf. Hoodie too big, sleeves chewed at the cuffs. A bright red backpack slung over one shoulder, patched with safety pins and a fading sticker that read, "Still here." She didn't touch anything. Just stared at the blank notebook. Riley watched from the counter. Something about the girl reminded her of herself, the way she lingered with her body turned halfway toward the door, like she wasn't sure if she had permission to stay. Riley didn't approach. She waited. After 10 minutes, the girl picked up a slim poetry collection and walked it over. "Can I read this here?" she asked, voice small. "Of course," Riley said. The girl sat on the floor by the window. Read for nearly an hour. Didn't take out her phone once. Before leaving, she returned the book and slid something into the blank notebook. After she was gone, Riley checked. A small paper triangle, carefully folded. When she opened it, her heart stopped for a beat. Inside, scrawled in purple ink, "Sometimes I stand in rooms and wonder if anyone would notice if I melted into the floor. This shelf told me I wouldn't. No name. No contact. Just that." Riley turned the note over. Wrote a reply beneath it. "We would notice. I would." She left it in the notebook. The next day it was gone. In its place was a sketch, charcoal on plain paper. A girl with a red backpack, standing tall among shelves that looked suspiciously like theirs. Underneath, "Still here." Riley framed it. Quietly. Hung it above the unlisted shelf without saying a word. Customers noticed. They didn't ask. Some just stood in front of it, hands in pockets, eyes a little shinier than before. And somewhere in the space between pages and silence, Riley realized something. Kindness wasn't just a ripple. It was a loop. It came back. Maybe not through the same hands or the same voice, but always to the same kind of heart. The red backpack girl kept returning. Never with anyone. Never in a rush. She'd sit in the back corner of the store, sometimes sketching, sometimes reading, sometimes just breathing. Like this place was the only place she could. Riley never asked questions. She just made space. A spare cup of tea would appear on the table beside her. A post-it note with a quote would land inside her sketchbook when she wasn't looking. One afternoon, Riley found her tracing a worn paperback copy of Jane Eyre. The girl closed the book, then paused. She turned it slowly, eyes scanning the inside cover. Something had caught her eye. "Did someone write in this?" she asked, puzzled. Riley stepped closer. There, on the second page, barely visible, was a small mark in pencil. A folded corner. A line drawn beside one paragraph. "I am no bird, and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will." The girl read it aloud. Then whispered, "That's mine now." Riley smiled. "I think it always was." The girl didn't buy the book. She didn't have to. She placed it back with care, then disappeared into the streetlight dusk. Later that night, while reshelving, Riley found another book with a similar mark. A folded corner, a pencil line beside one sentence. Even a small star shines in the darkness. No note this time. No signature. Just a quiet highlight. As if someone had started their own secret library inside the shelves, not with post-its or bookmarks, but with invisible breadcrumbs. The next day, a customer, older man, gray sweater, trembling hands, picked up that exact book. Read the marked line. Closed it slowly. Then bought it without a word. Riley rang it up, heart full. This was how it worked now. Not with announcements. Not with grand gestures. But with a folded corner in a forgotten book. A sketch on a community notebook page. A pair of eyes that finally met yours without looking away. The unlisted shelf wasn't just a shelf anymore. It was a conversation. And somewhere, even if she never saw him again, she hoped Keanu knew what he'd started. Because it hadn't stopped. It had grown. It showed up on a Tuesday. Late afternoon. The store was quiet, rain speckling the windows, and Riley was restocking staff recommendations when she noticed something resting on the corner of the unlisted shelf. A pen. Not a ballpoint. Not cheap. A deep black fountain pen. Brass accents. The kind that carried weight even when untouched. She glanced around. No customers in the aisle. No note. Just the pen, placed deliberately, pointing toward the community notebook. Riley picked it up gently. Unscrewed the cap. Inktip, untouched. The notebook had a new page open. On instinct, she wrote a single line. Words are heavier when we finally let them out. She set the pen down again. Left it there. By evening, 4 more lines had been added, all in the same ink. I didn't think anyone wanted to hear mine. I wrote this instead of crying today. Still here. Trying again tomorrow. Riley pressed her fingers to her lips. The pen had opened something. Not just writing, trust. Over the next few days, the notebook filled faster. Some entries were long. Some were scribbled like the writer was afraid they'd get caught being honest. Some didn't even use words. Drawings. Song lyrics. Doodles of birds and broken clocks. A single page with nothing but the please. Riley didn't know who wrote them. Didn't need to. She just kept the pages safe. One night, while locking up, she found a folded napkin under the register. She almost tossed it. But the handwriting caught her. Same calm strokes. Same simplicity. Keanu, I'm not coming back. Because I don't need to. It's yours now. Riley sat down hard on the stool. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like permission. To continue. To shape. To lead. She folded the napkin carefully and placed it in the notebook's back sleeve. Then walked to the shelf, picked up the pen and wrote, "You're not alone. Someone has already made space for you." She closed the book, turned off the lights, and left the door unlocked just a moment longer than usual, because someone out there might still be searching for a place where their silence could speak. The notebook filled up by the end of the week. Its pages were soft from touch, edges curled like they'd been held too long. Some corners were dog-eared, others smudged from rain, or tears, or both. Riley didn't replace it right away. She let it sit, displayed it gently on the unlisted shelf with a handwritten sign. Volume 1. Customers flipped through it like scripture. Not reading cover to cover, just stopping on a sentence or sketch that caught them, like a hand reaching out. That Friday, a young man came in, hoodie up, sleeves past his knuckles. He paced the aisles, never speaking. Paused twice at the shelf, then walked out. Didn't buy anything. Didn't take anything. But left a new notebook behind. Wrapped in brown paper. And signed only with a single letter, R. Volume 2 had begun. The next day, someone drew a small window on the inside cover. The day after that, someone wrote, "The window you drew made me feel like I could open one in myself." It spiraled from there. Riley didn't moderate it. She didn't police the content. She just trusted it. And the trust held. The unlisted shelf had become a map, one made from grief and sketches and quiet redemption. It was built between the lines. One evening, as she locked up, Riley paused at the shelf and found something odd. A book had been returned. Not one they carried. Not one anyone would have noticed. It was old, cloth-bound. No barcode. No price. Inside the front cover was a note. "You helped me remember why I stayed. So I'm leaving this for whoever forgot." The book was titled, Reasons to Stay. She placed it beside the notebook, no label. Let it speak for itself. Later that night, she sat on the floor of her apartment, her original notebook open. She hadn't written in it for days. But now she did. He left a pen. But what he really gave me was the courage to leave behind the silence. It was nearly closing when the publisher walked in. Riley recognized the name on the email first, the message she almost ignored. Just another stranger asking about the notebook, the shelf, the story. But this one was different. He didn't come with a camera crew. Didn't bring a contract. He came with a copy of Volume 1, printed, bound, and marked with sticky notes in every color. "I read the scans," he said, setting it on the counter. 12 times. Riley blinked. You want to publish it?" He smiled. I want the world to see what happens when people stop performing and start writing like no one's watching. She stared at the book. Her hands trembled. It's not just mine, she said quietly. I didn't write most of it. You curated it, protected it, opened the door. He slid a thin folder toward her. One page inside. A contract. I want you to edit it, he added. But don't clean it up too much. Let the mess stay. That's the part that breathes. Riley didn't speak. Just nodded. When he left, she sat alone for a long time. Then pulled out her original notebook and wrote. A man once gave me a pen and didn't tell me what to write. He gave me the silence to fill myself. The next day, a new sign appeared on the shelf. The unlisted shelf, a book in progress. Below it, a donation box. Next to that, an invitation. Right? Sign only if you want it. A woman left a folded song lyric. A teenager drew an anatomically incorrect heart and wrote, "Mine's still beating. That's all that matters." And then, one morning, a sealed envelope appeared on the shelf. Plain. Cream-colored. No name. Inside, one line. Some voices echo loudest when they leave space behind. No signature. None needed. Riley held the paper to her chest. She didn't cry this time. She just nodded, like she was answering someone invisible. And maybe she was. Years passed. The bookstore changed slowly, like a tree bending toward light. Staff rotated in and out. The carpet got replaced. The register went digital. But the unlisted shelf stayed exactly where it was, near the window, just out of the sun. People still called it that. The unlisted shelf. But now it had a small plaque beside it, built on silence, filled with everything that matters. By then, Volume 9 was halfway filled. Dozens of notebooks lived in the backroom archive. People from other cities mailed their own. Some sent letters. Some sent poems. One man sent a single tea bag with a note. This helped. Maybe it helps again. Riley became the manager. Then part-time editor. Then something in between. She never moved away. Didn't need to. The world came to her now, in the form of sentences. One day, a film crew asked if they could shoot a short documentary about the shelf. She said yes. On the day of the shoot, the crew asked if she wanted to dedicate the newest notebook to anyone. She thought about it for a long time. Then, using the original fountain pen, now a little scratched but still writing smooth, she opened the first page of Volume 10. Wrote carefully. For the man who left a book, a pen, and never asked for credit. You didn't need to be remembered by name. You were remembered by what you started. That evening, after the crew left, Riley sat by the window alone. Customers came and went. One girl in a green jacket picked up a book with a folded corner and smiled. An older man sat quietly and scribbled something into the notebook, looking lighter when he finished. And across the street, leaning casually beside a row of parked bikes. Someone watched. Black hoodie. Motorcycle helmet in one hand. Face partly shadowed. He didn't come inside. Didn't wave. Just waited a moment longer, long enough to see the lights inside flicker on for the evening crowd. Then stepped away. And was gone. Riley didn't need to chase him. She just placed her hand on the shelf. And whispered, "Still here." The loudest lessons don't come from shouting. They come from being seen. He didn't come to punish her. He came to give her the tools to rewrite her story. One pen. One shelf. One quiet act of courage. And a reminder. You don't need to be famous to change a life. You just have to stay long enough to care.